All right, let's talk about building real wealth. We're going to break down a simple, honest system that works even if you're starting from absolute zero. This isn't about hype or some get-rich-quick scheme. It's a real blueprint for your financial future.
You know that feeling, right? You work hard, you do everything you're supposed to, but at the end of the month, you look at your account and the money just seems to have vanished. You're not lazy, and you are definitely not alone. The truth is, most of us were never really taught how money actually works.
And this, right here, gets to the absolute heart of the matter. It's about a massive mindset shift. Most people are playing the game on the left, focusing on spending money to get that short-term validation. But building real wealth, that's a completely different game. It's all about acquiring assets and creating a long-term security. The goal isn't to look rich, it's to actually become free.
So that brings us to our very first section. We have to redefine the goal, because the true purpose of wealth, well, it's probably not what you've been led to believe.
Look, forget the fancy cars and designer clothes for a second. This is wealth. It's an emotional state. It's security. It's waking up in the morning and not having that awful, sinking knot of financial panic in your stomach. It's knowing that no matter what happens, your family is safe. That is the real goal we're chasing here.
Now, if you're looking at your bank account right now and seeing zero, or maybe even less than zero, listen to me very carefully. This does not mean you have failed. It just means you're at the starting line. Every single person who ever built wealth from nothing started exactly where you are. This is the beginning, not the end. All right, next up, let's talk about getting your first win. And that win is all about control. Because before your money can ever grow, you have to tame it first. Let me tell you about a guy named Mike. Mike's situation is probably going to sound pretty familiar. He worked in a warehouse, made $15 an hour, and had absolutely zero in savings. Every single month, he felt like his money just disappeared into thin air. Then, Mike did one simple thing. For just 30 days, he stopped blaming his job, the economy, or anything else, and he just started tracking where every single dollar was going. No complicated spreadsheets, just paying attention. And what he found was, well, it was kinda shocking. It wasn't one big disastrous expense that was killing his budget. Nope, it was all the small stuff. Coffees, forgotten subscriptions, little impulse buys. All these tiny leaks were adding up to a massive drain on his income. You have to remember this. Awareness always comes before wealth.
Just by tracking his spending, Mike found an extra $300 a month that was just hiding in his budget. He wasn't rich overnight, of course not, but he had something so much more important. He had his first win, a real tangible victory that proved he was finally in control.
You don't need some perfect, crazy, complicated budget. You just need a direction. A simple system like this, 70% to live on, 20% to save or invest, 10% to learn can be a super powerful guide. And hey, if that feels impossible right now, start with 5%. Seriously, progress always beats perfection.
Okay, so once you have control, it's time to fuel the engine. And this next part is absolutely critical, because saving money, while super important, is not going to save you by itself.
This is one of those hard truths we just have to face. If your income is too low, no amount of clever investing or extreme couponing is going to make you wealthy. Your income is the engine of your wealth-building machine, and the skills you have, that's the fuel that makes the whole thing run. So how do you actually increase that income? It's a surprisingly simple 3-step process. You don't need 10 different skills. You learn one valuable skill, you apply it over and over again, and then you use that skill to upgrade your work. Let's see how this plays out in the real world. Take Sarah, a single mom, totally swamped with no time or energy. She didn't chase some huge, impossible dream. She just learned Excel. That one skill got her a better job, which eventually led to her freelancing on the side. Or look at James, a delivery driver working crazy hours for low pay. He learned basic video editing for local businesses, and just 6 months later, he quit his driving job for good. They didn't just work harder, they aimed their effort in a smarter direction.
And you see, this all comes back to that mindset shift. The person who's stuck just asks, what can I buy right now? But the person who's building real wealth, they think on a much longer time scale. They ask, what impact is this decision going to have in 10 years? And that long-term thinking, well, that leads us to our final and maybe the most important section, the incredible power of patience. This is where we learn how being boring is the real secret to winning the long game.
When you finally have money to invest, it is so easy to get distracted by all the hype and the latest trends, right? But real wealth isn't built on gambling.
It's built on a very simple, almost boring formula: being consistent over a long, long period of time.
To see just how powerful this is, let's look at Lisa. She invested just $200 a month. That's it. In year 1, it was a pretty small pot of money. But by year 10, that magical thing called compounding really started to kick in. And 20 years later, simply by being patient and consistent, she became a millionaire.
The thing is, Lisa's success didn't come from some secret stock-picking genius. Nope. She won because she cultivated a character trait that any one of us can develop: patience. She just didn't quit.
And that brings us to the most important part of this whole thing, your journey. Because you don't need a perfect plan, and you don't need a huge pile of cash to begin. You just need to start.
There's this old saying that is just so profoundly true. The absolute best time to start building wealth was 20 years ago. But you know what the second best time is? It's right now, today. So here are your final instructions, the core message of this entire blueprint. Start small, go get that first win. Stay consistent, make it a habit you don't even think about. And no matter what happens, don't stop. Because the person you're going to be in 10 or 20 years, they are counting on the decisions you make today. And that leaves us with just one final question. And this one is for you. Forget the giant, intimidating goal for a minute. Based on everything we just talked about, what is your first small step going to be?